Well, well, well. We drew the line on Sunday, the 3R rule, that the only three situations that come back to you. Everything else the manager handles. But here's what happens the day after that document gets signed. The manager encounters a situation. It's not an R. They know that, but they're not sure what to do with it, so they ask you. And you give them the answer. The same answer you've given them 3 times this year. The same answer you gave them twice last year. The same answer that feels so obvious to you that you're slightly surprised they're asking you. And you move on. But here's the question I want you to sit with. How many times have you answered the same question, not different questions, the same one, recurring, predictable, the situation that come to you every tax season like clockwork, and every time they do, they find their way to you? If you're honest about the number, it's probably somewhere between embarrassing and shocking. Those questions aren't routing to you because they require your judgment. They're routing to you because nobody ever wrote down the answer. And that's what today fixes. Now, I want to try something before we build the document. Think about the last time a team member came to you with a question, a real one from the last few weeks. Now, ask yourself, had you answered that same exact question before? Not a similar question, but that exact question. And for most partners, the answer is yes. Now ask yourself, is the answer to that question written down anywhere your team can access without asking you? And for most partners, the answer is no. That gap between the answer existing and the answer being accessible, that is not a knowledge problem, it's an organizational problem. And here's what makes it worth naming directly. Some part of being the person everyone comes to for answers feels good. It feels like being needed. It feels like validation. The expertise that you've built over 20 years finally actually matters. Every time someone comes to you with a question and you answer it, that's proof you're still the most valuable person in the room. But I want to offer you a different frame. The most valuable thing that your expertise has ever produced isn't the answer you gave in the moment. It's the answer documented well enough that nobody ever has to ask you again. And what's the difference between expertise that requires your presence and expertise that outlasts it? The unusual situation FAQ is how you build the second kind. Now, what is this FAQ? This FAQ is not some sort of policy manual. It's not like some knowledge base that lives on a shared drive that nobody opens. It's instead a working document, a 20 to 30 of the most common situations that currently route to you by default, with the answer to each one written the way you'll explain it to a capable manager sitting across from you. Direct, specific, and not hedged. The situations are predictable because you already know what they are. For example, it could be the clients whose records are always incomplete when the return is due, or the return that has a specific gray area your team has seen before but isn't sure how to handle it. It could be the client who always questions the fee after the work is done. It could be the filing position that is technically defensible but makes someone nervous every time it appears. These situations aren't complex. They just don't have a written down answer. And without a written answer, they find you every time. So how do you build it? You build it in 3 steps, in a sequence. Step 1. Go through your messages in the last 6 months, right? So every question your team sent you, every situation they flagged, every time someone asked, what do we do when X? Write them down, all of them. Don't filter for complexity. If they asked, it goes on the list. And then add the situations you know came up repeatedly that your team handles inconsistently, even when they don't always ask you. The ones you notice when you are reviewing their work and thinking that that's not quite how I do it, how I'll handle it. Aim for 30 situations. You'll probably hit it faster than you expect. Step 2, sort them into categories. Prepare situations, things that arise before the work reaches the review. something like incomplete records, or it could be missing documents, information that doesn't reconcile. Review situations, the things the reviewer finds that needs a decision, stuff like unusual positions, items that could go either way, anything that makes a manager pause and reach for their phone. Third is also communication situations, like recurring client behaviors that need consistent response. A client who expands scope mid engagement is common, and the client who goes silent during tax season, the client who disputes the invoice after every filing. Three categories: clean and specific. And then the third step is write the answers. One answer per situation. The real answer, not a policy statement. What you actually do. If the answer varies by context, the document context and the corresponding answers. If the answer varies between, document the context and the corresponding answers. And that in itself not a reason to leave it undocumented. It's a reason to document it more carefully. And here's the piece most firms miss: flag the edge cases explicitly. In most cases, here's the answer: if X or Y is also present, this meets the 3R threshold. Come back to the partner. That flag does two things for you. First, it gives the manager confidence to handle the routine version. Second, it protects situations that generally need you. So you'll start building this document, and at some point you'll write the answer and think, wait, isn't this obvious? Why will I ever need to document this? And that thought is important. Pay attention, pay critical attention to it, because every answer that feels obvious to you will land somewhere, through a mistake, through a senior partner who explained it once, through years of encountering a situation and developing a response. Your team hasn't had those years yet. What feels like common sense to you is pattern recognition you accumulated over a career. And pattern recognition lives only in your head. And no matter how obvious it feels, it is knowledge your firm doesn't actually have. The FAQ is you giving your firm what it paid for. 20 years of situations handled correctly. Finally, in a form that doesn't require you to be in the room, or for it to get used. So how does it get used? The FAQ doesn't get sent out and it sits in the cloud or in some shared drive. It lives in the review process, adjacent to where that decisions get made, opened, referenced, and updated. And the protocol is simple. Manager encounters a situation with they're unsure about. They check the FAQ before coming to you. If it's on the list, they use the documented answer, full stop. If it's not on the list, they escalate, and when they do, you answer. Then you add that answer to the FAQ immediately. That last step is everything. Every new question that surfaces becomes the new FAQ entry, and the document grows and grows. The situation that routes to you shrink. With one full tax season of consistent use, the questions stop. Not because your team became more capable overnight, but because the answers finally live somewhere they can find without asking. So, here's what I said at the start that I want to come back to. Some part of being the person everyone comes to for answers feels like value. And I understand that. And I'm not dismissing it. But here's the truth. If your expertise disappears the day you stop showing up, it was never really in your firm. It was in you, personally. And personal experience doesn't compound. Personal experience doesn't scale. Personal experience doesn't transfer to the next person who needs it. Documented expertise, though, does. The FAQ isn't the end of being the most knowledgeable person in the room. It's proof that you are. So, in closing, 30 situations this week. Mind your messages in the past 6 months. Pull out recurring questions. We just finished tax season. So you could start from like the end of December, January, and now because you now have a new fresh pile of data in this new tax season. Use it. Pull out the recurring questions. Write the answers the way you'd explain them to a capable manager. Not for next month project, this week. Every day, because the answers stay in your head. Every day the answers stay in your head, they're out to you. They're out to you, and it's predictable, preventable. On situations that you've solved dozens of times. Now, on Sunday, next Sunday, we'll go into the manager ownership, the formal transfer of review responsibility, the ownership contract, what it actually looks like when a manager owns the review, not just executes on it. The dependency score is in the description, and I'll see you on Sunday.